Do you really want to cut thick metal with a reciprocating blade? We'll find out in just a moment. I'm Tim Johnson. You're watching Shop Tour Reviews. About a year ago, in November of 2019, Diablo invited us to a private event held at the STAFTA event. So several of us went to a private room where we got to see a lot of the tools and accessories that Diablo was coming out with over the course of 2020. One of those was this thick metal carbide tip blade. Now specifically, it's meant for 3/16 to 9/16 inch metal, so more than a ½ inch thick is what it's made to cut. Now years ago, you would never want to attempt to cut that thick of metal with a Recip saw. But with technology and the way that we've done with carbide tip blades and the way that Diablo has done with a lot of their blades, we now have a blade that can hold up to it. Now, how long will it hold up to it? We don't know. Because at the event, we got to cut a couple of cuts and then move on and let somebody else do it. But we finally got some in the shop here. We got some 6-inch blade as well as some 9-inch blades. And actually, we already made some cuts, as you can see here. But let's go over, take a look at it, take a closer look, and we'll actually look at some of these cuts and see how well it did, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So Diablo sent us these new amped carbide teeth blades that are specifically made for thick metal. So carbide tooth Recip blade, made for thick metal. They have it in a, I believe, a 4-inch, 6-inch, 9-inch, and even a 12-inch length. So you can get these in various lengths, whether you're cutting big pipe, small pipe, angle or thick angle or C-channel, whatever you're cutting in thick steel, you can get these in the appropriate length. You can also buy them in single packs, 3-packs, and I believe even 10 packs as well. And right now, I think they have them in a 2-pack for the same price as one. Anyway, we'll talk about that here in a moment. One thing these have, I notice on here that I'm not seeing yet on the ones online or the ones at the stores, is where you see the black here on the end, and they're calling it their black ice coating. And I don't know if you can see it here in the package, but it says black ice coating. And the idea behind it is it's supposed to allow for a cooler cut through the cut. So once it's cut, the blade's supposed to stay cooler as well as the surface temp. And we'll check that once we get done with the cut to see how hot it is. But again, supposed to be made for thick metal. So that's what we're going to test it on. We've got some Schedule 40 4-inch pipe here, which means we've got right at a 1/4 inch wall thickness on the pipe. So you can see here we've got right at a 1/4 inch. And then overall OD is 4.5 inches with an internal of 4 inches. So should be a Schedule 40 4-inch pipe. Again, going to give us about a 1/4 inch wall thickness. And then we'll use it over here on the C channel, which actually is about 5/16 here through the body and more than a 1/2 inch on the webbing. So that ought to be a good cut as well. We'll try it out on that. And that width is going to have us kind of come in at an angle and then straighten it out. So a typical, cut that you'd be making on other things as well, where you can't just, maybe have a long enough blade to cut through, and when one swipe, you kind of got to get in an angle and start it that way. So we'll test that as well. But anyway, have not used these except at the Diablo show that we went to at STAFTA last year, which I believe was last November of 2019. We got to use these, but they just came out and released them, so we haven't used them here in the shop yet. But they're made for everything from 3/16 up to 9/16 inch thick. So again, I'm going to try it here on this Schedule 40 pipe, and then we'll try it on that C channel. And let's see how we do here. Oops. Guess I better do a better job at clamping. All right, got it clamped back in. So the blade definitely took a hit. It's not terribly hot. It's warm. After the second cut, it's definitely taken some abuse, but all the carbide teeth are still on there. Maybe one starting to go right there, but it is still cutting. You know, typical pipe cutting. You work a little bit to get it started, but then it starts cutting through, and again, cutting that pipe is not bad at all. Temperature on here. Yeah, so 108, and not bad at all. So yeah, it's definitely not going to burn you. On here, 97, 107, 110, yeah, 111. So not bad, definitely not going to burn you. After making those long cuts, I expected it to be a lot hotter than that. Yeah, so I can rest my hand on there and not get burnt. We'll go ahead and make one more cut with this blade, and then we'll switch over to that C channel and see if we can't make a cut with that either. I'm gonna move my shoe just a little bit just to get a different contact point on the blade, and then we'll go back at it. Something else I've noticed about this with this blade, it's a thick blade, but it's not overly thick, but it's definitely allowing me to guide this to not, you know, cut off at a slant, keep this nice and straight, and be able to make some thin slices if I need to, even in this thicker metal. So 3 cuts on that 4-inch Schedule 40. Could I get 20 in there? Not sure. I'm not going to try that either. But definitely cuts well, cuts nice and straight. I really do like that about it. A lot of times when you get into thicker metal, that blade just wants to twist and turn and wander all over the place. Also, pretty impressed that all my carbide teeth are still on there, not breaking off. That's another problem with some of the carbide teeth, is they want to chip off and break off after you put some good heat and good cut to them, but this is not happening on this one. Let's check the temp now. We've kind of done a couple of cuts back to back. Again, we're, you know, in the 100 and, well, there's 145, so it is starting to dissipate some heat out the tip there. You'll also notice that, look here, in the body of the blade, got 98, there's 120 there, but you get out here towards the tip and it's really wanting to dissipate that heat. Like 140, 130 out here. We're going to change out the pipe here. And we're going to go to a piece of this thick C channel here. A new carbide tooth amped blade. And we're going to see if we can't cut through this, let's see, what is it, a piece of 8-inch C-channel. Again, like 5/16 here in the main body, and it's more than a 1/2 inch there on the webbing. Closer to 3/4 of an inch there on the webbing. So we'll see if we can't cut through there And again, we're going to have to kind of come at this at an angle because the teeth won't reach all the way across that. Even with the shoe all the way in, we're still not going to get a full cut there on the blade. So I'll kind of walk it in on the side here, and then I'll straighten this cut out and see if we can't get it done. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm getting hot right here in my handle for sure. Yeah, it's 120 something degrees there in the handle. So that's getting warm. Blade seems to be doing well. All the teeth still there. Let's go ahead and finish our cut. That's not a cut I want to make a lot, but it'll do it. The Diablo Amped thick metal blades did quite well in cutting this thicker metal. One of the things I was most impressed about is how well it tracks through the cut, because a lot of times when you take a blade, it wants to heat up really bad and then start twisting, and then your cut gets way off angle, especially when you're cutting through that thicker steel, so it'll want to kind of trail away or trail inward or what have you. But that did not happen with these amped blades, with the thick metal blades. It stayed nice and true through the cut, and I could get a really nice cut no matter how long it took me to cut through that, and it never got extremely hot. You know, we saw some 130, 140 degree temps. That was as high as we saw. It didn't get into extreme temperatures like we typically see when you're cutting with a standard blade. Now, Diablo claims this is will last 50 times longer than a standard blade. Well, what's a standard blade? And will it last 50 times longer? I'm not going to make that claim. You know, if you're comparing it to a paper mache blade, absolutely. Now, will it last longer than your typical steel blade that you use for, you know, cutting sheet metal and things? Absolutely. It's definitely going to last longer. We were also impressed with the fact that we never lost one of the carbide tips, because that's a lot of times when we first started seeing carbide teeth come on blades, you would start seeing, whether it was a cold saw, whether it was a recip blade, what have you, you'd start seeing teeth that become missing, because that's kind of a welding process of how it's bonded to the metal. So the whole blade is not carbide, it's just the tips. But we haven't seen that. We haven't seen where the tips are actually breaking off and coming off. So we're impressed with that. So the bonding process is very well on these. Now, I cut 4 cuts through this Schedule 44-inch pipe. Now, could I have done more? Absolutely. Could I have done 10? Probably. Could I have done 20? Depends on, you know, how I treated the blade, how I held the saw, what type of saw I'm using. So what am I saying by that? I'm saying that you as a user could take this same blade and probably burn it up in 1 or 2 cuts. At the same time, if you're using the right speeds with the right saw and cutting through the right material and doing it how you should you get 10 cuts out of it? Yeah, I think so. Again, depends on what you're cutting. So I'm not trying to cop out for Diablo, but what I'm saying is I see a lot of that where we see really good blades and somebody says, oh, I burned it up in 1 use. Well, it's probably because you're misusing it. Again, if you're using it on stainless steel, we didn't do that, but you want to slow that blade down. It's not meant to go high speed through stainless steel. Stainless steel needs to be cut a lot slower than typical carbon steel. So again, taking care of knowing your speeds and feeds, if you will, and you can find that all over the internet if you want to. But again, taking care of the blade and the blade speed is going to definitely determine what type of performance and longevity you get out of a blade. We will say that the thick metal blades should last you much longer than a typical steel blade. Now let's talk about the cost on these. We've seen that typically these were running about $15, like $14.97 for a single pack of the 9-inch blade. Now you can also get these in a 4-inch, a 6-inch, as well as a 12-inch. But again, we would see kind of the 9-inch be about $15 for a single blade. But what we've seen is in a twin pack lately, you can get it for $15. So that's $7.50 per blade. That's only a couple of bucks more than if you bought a, quote, standard style blade. So That's not a bad deal at all. If you can pick up a twin pack for 15 bucks, or even get these 10 packs where you're getting these at less than 10 bucks a piece, they're great blades. Try them out. Let us know what you think. If you've already tried them, let us know what you think as well. Hey, if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. If you don't like it, give us a thumbs down, but let us know why in the comments. Have a great day. Keep smiling.